Hi, this is Rich Harrington, and I'm here today to show you a double processed HDR image technique. This is going to allow us to do a normal HDR merge and then place a second copy on top for some additional details. Let's go ahead and choose File, Automate, Merge to HDR Pro. This brings up a dialog box which you want to add your images to, and I'm just going to navigate out and find them. There we go. I've got the three images, and I click Open, and they are added into the merge box. I'm going to attempt to automatically align these because this was a handheld HDR. I didn't have a tripod with me, and I was just up on a ledge, braced myself, and shot the image. Let's click OK, and those images will now open and merge into a single document. The three images are opened. This is a very large file. This is from the Nikon D800, so it takes just a second for the merge to complete. There we go, and we're now in the Merge to HDR Pro dialog box. You can see that the two images here are a series of over and underexposed images, and there's lots of choices. I'm just going to go ahead and use one of the new presets, RC5, and that does a pretty high contrast look. Or let's try one of the other ones here, Scott 5, and those are actually made by the guys over at Photoshop User. That looks pretty good. I really like how the details are coming through. I'm going to play with the strength of the glow here a bit and bring that up just a little. I like how the rock is coming in. We'll smooth out the edge, and that does a nice job of bringing out some of those details. And I just want to play with the highlights a little bit, finding the right mix. Looks good. Just bring the shadows up a little as well so they're not quite so high contrast. And we'll play with the overall vibrance and gamma. Little underexposed there to bring out the floor. I'm happy with that, and I'm just going to back off the edge glow so it's not quite as strong, and that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and click OK to open that up. There, the HDR image is open, and lots of great detail there. What I'd like to do is add in another copy of the image on top. So I'll choose File, Place, and navigate out to one of my proper exposed images, the base exposure. There we go. Let's click Place. This will bring up the standard camera raw dialog box. I'll do an auto exposure here, and what I'm really looking to do is to bring out the clouds. So let's underexpose a bit and start to push the clarity and the contrast. There we go. That's looking nice for the clouds. I'll play with the shadows there. I'm going to take them down a little bit even. And clip the blacks. Bring up the vibrance. That's looking nice. I'll click OK. And that'll be added on top as a smart object. That looks good. I'll press return. And what I want to do is duplicate that layer real quick. Now, here's the trick. In order to auto-align this, I'm going to rasterize that layer. And I could select those two layers in a second, and we'll auto-align them. But let's come back up here and redevelop this top raw copy by double-clicking on the smart object. And this time, I'm going to develop for the rocks. I'm going to put some more contrast into those rocks. That looks good. Really get that nice with some strong clarity. And I like how those rocks are popping. We'll go ahead and bring the highlights up a little bit. We'll let that blow out in the back. There we go. And click OK. So now we've done an HDR plus 2 manual develops. Let's rasterize that. And we'll call this highs and lows. Alright, with all three layers selected, I'll choose the Move tool and click Auto Align. And I'm just going to go ahead and adjust those so they properly line up. There we go. There we go. The images are properly aligned, and I'm just going to start to blend. So we've got our low area here with the Quick Selection tool. I'll just take a quick grab through the rock. There we go. And now I can use the blend command. Select the move tool and press Shift plus to step through my different options. And what I'm doing is I'm mixing that layer with what's below. I like that, toggling that off and on. Really like how that color comes through. Let's try a few other options. Let's try hard light there at 60% opacity. A quick toggle off and on, and you can see that before and after, and I like how that's coming through. Let's go up here to the highs layer. I'll command click on the mask to load it and choose select inverse, and we can remask that top brick, and that's looking pretty good there. I'm just going to back that down a little. With the move tool selected, I could use Shift plus and step through my blending modes. I like that there. Soft light again, just layering it on top. Let's load that, and we'll make a curves adjustment with the auto adjustment there. There we go. And there's actually multiple auto adjustments now in Photoshop CS6, so you can try those different methods if you want, and you see some different results. I actually like the monochromatic contrast there as opposed to changing the color channels, although they're both pretty good. I think that looks best. Alright, we're just about set. Let's grab the crop tool, and I'm going to change this to an aspect ratio of 5:7. Just pull that in a little. Looks good. Got my proper crop there, removing the little edging gap. And I'll make sure the delete crop pixels is unchecked. I'll press return, and it applies that to the multi-layered high resolution image. This is a very high res photo here. These are actually almost 40 megapixel images and 5 or 6 layers. So the crop will take just a second to apply. There we go. The image is about finished. I'm just going to round this off with a gradient map. And you'll find a bunch of new cool presets here in the photographic toning. Let's grab one of these nice desert type ones there. There we go. That looks pretty nice, as do some of the golds. I'm going to go with the nice sepia highlights, however, and blend that back. Let's just set that to an overlay mode, and I'll toggle that off and on, and you see it really brings things out. I'm going to back that off just a tad to about 50%, and if I toggle the visibility, you see that further enhances the toning and the contrast. That looks great. This is a really crunchy HDR, but I think I'm happy with it, and I'll just save my work and call it a day. My name's Rich Harrington. I invite you to check out some of my new Photoshop training available at lynda.com, and there's a new edition of the book Understanding Adobe Photoshop CS6 on the way.